Hello and welcome to part 2 of our Pete the Platypus crochet along. In this video, we are going to be making the body, the arms, the legs, and the tail. So let's grab our yarn and our hook and we will jump into it. All right, next up we are going to be working on the body. So I'm just going to grab my hook and I have my color A yarn. So whatever it is that you used for the head here. And we're going to start off with a magic ring. Inside our magic ring, we're going to do 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. There we go. Moving on to round 2, we're going to do an increase round. So that's going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around for a stitch count of 12. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. For round 3, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and an increase, and we will repeat this 6 times for a stitch count of 18. Moving on to round 4, we're just going to do single crochet 18. For round 5, we're going to do the combination single crochet 2 and an increase. And again, we're going to repeat this 6 times for a stitch count of 24. For round 6, we're going to do single crochet 24. Round 7, we're going to do the combination single crochet 3, 2, 3, and an increase. And we're going to repeat this 6 times as well. 2, 3, and an increase. And your stitch count should be 30 at the end of round 7. For round 8, we're going to do single crochet 30. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around. All right, for round 9, we're going to do the combination single crochet 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and an increase. And again, we're going to repeat this 6 times for a stitch count of 36. So I will complete this round off camera and I'll meet you back here for round 10. All right, moving on to round 10. We are just going to do single crochet 36. For round 11, we're going to do the combination single crochet 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and an increase. And again, we're going to repeat this a total of 6 times. 3, 3, 4, 5, increase, and your stitch count should be 42 at the end of round 11. Moving on for rounds 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. So 6 rounds, we're going to do single crochet 42. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 6 rounds. I will complete these rounds off camera and I'll meet you back here for round 18. All right, now moving on, we have completed up to round 17 now, and we are going to move on now to round 18. So for round 18, we're going to start decreasing down. So we're going to do the combination single crochet 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a decrease stitch. So same way we did our decreases in the head. And we're going to repeat that combination single crochet 5 and a decrease a total of 6 times. 4, 5, I lost my count there. 2, 3, 4, 5, and decrease. All right, and at the end of this round, we should have 36 stitches. So moving on to round 19, we're going to single crochet 36. 1 single crochet in each stitch around. Moving on to round 20, we're going to do the combination single crochet 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a decrease. And again, we're going to repeat this a total of 6 times for a stitch count of 30 at the end. I will complete this round off camera and I'll meet you back here for round 21. All right, moving on to round 21, we're just going to do single crochet 30, 1 single crochet in each stitch around. For round 22, we're going to do the combination single crochet 3, 1, 2, 3, and a decrease. Again, repeating this 6 times, and we should have a stitch count of 24. So I will finish this round off camera and I will meet you back here for the next step. All right, so this is what we're looking like up to round 22 with 24 stitches remaining. I usually like to stuff around 24 stitches. I just find it's the perfect amount of space and also keeps, like, it's closed enough that's going to keep the stuffing in. So I'm going to grab my fiber fill and I'm just going to start to stuff. And I just want to first just push that down right into the tip there. And when I'm stuffing, I like to just sweep out my stuffing to the edges just to make sure that everything is getting stuffed equally. You don't want it to be so overstuffed it's rock hard, but you want it to still maintain its shape. So just got to find that kind of happy medium there. Just like that. I might add a little bit more stuffing after the next few rounds and then it will be all done. So moving on to round 23, we're going to do the combination single crochet 2 and a decrease. Now keep in mind, now that we've stuffed, crocheting this will be a little bit more difficult, so just take your time. Again, we're going to repeat this 6 times and we should have a stitch count of 18 at the end of round 23. All right, and then moving on to the final round, round 24 of the body here, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and a decrease. And again, we're repeating this 6 times. You should have a stitch count of 12. All right, I'm going to take my stitch marker out. I'm just going to cut my yarn, pull that through. Now I'm just going to add in some fiber fill here to the very bottom last 2 rounds that I just did. Doesn't need a lot. And then I'm going to grab my smaller 4mm hook here, and I'm going to just pull my yarn tail through each of the front loops only of all 12 of those stitches that are remaining. And every few stitches here, I'm just going to pull just to help close that along. And then just to finally close up this last hole, if I can, because I've lost a ton of yarn here, I'm going to make just a knot here. This is the hardest part because this yarn is just so unforgiving. And then I'm just going to weave this in. I still have a tiny hole, so I'm just going to fix that. I'm just going to grab another strand of this yarn that isn't ripped. Unfortunately, this is the bad part about this yarn, kind of like I said before. So I'm just going to go through this hole here with this new clean strand, and I'm just going to tie a knot. And that should close up that hole there pretty nicely. And then I'll just push this tail down and this one as well. I love this yarn, but also loathe it sometimes. And then I'm just going to cut those tails. A little bit of extra work, but definitely worth it so that your stuffy doesn't fall apart or have any holes in it. And there is our body all completed. All right, so now that we have our body and our head, we're going to sew them together. I'll just bring you out a tad here. So the way that I like to sew these guys on, we're going to be sewing the very bottom of our heads, the last about 3 rounds, 16 through 18 of the head. And we're going to sew that on to rounds 1 through 3 of the body. So we'll count down 1, 2, 3. So this 3rd round is what we're going to sew on to the bottom here. So I'm just going to roughly place this, and I want to make sure it's straight. I personally like using a knitting needle, and all I do is I just stick it right down the center of the head, in through the body, and that holds it in place way better than, say, these fabric pins for something as big as the head and the body, because they're just so large. And those fabric pins, they're better for arms and legs than they are for heads and bodies, in my opinion. So this is kind of my trick. I use the knitting needle. And then what we're going to do is I'm just going to grab a strand of yarn here. And I'm going to put that on my darning needle. Now we're keeping in mind that this yarn does fall apart. Better to get it right the very first time sewing it on versus having to take it all apart. So I'm going to just adjust my head. I already can tell that I'm not happy with the placement. So I'm just going to do that. It wasn't straight before. So I'm just going to just really take my time. Still don't like that. I want to make sure that it's even on this side and straight on this side. Let's see how that looks. That looks pretty good. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my darning needle with my yarn, and I'm going to count again, 1, 2, and I'm going to go right into that third round with my yarn. And all I'm going to do is just double check again that I'm happy with the placement, and then I'm going to just start sewing this guy on. And you just want to make sure that you're staying in the third round. And I always just like to double back and make sure that I'm still straight as I'm going along here, because I really don't want to pull it out and do it again. I'm just double checking that I'm still in that third round on the body. It's pretty good. Go. I've made it all the way around now, and I've reached my other strand. I'm really happy with the placement. It looks good, so I'm going to just tie this off together. And I'm going to push these strands down into the body. And then I'm just going to take my knitting needle out because it did its job. It kept everything in place. Just going to cut this, and I'll weave these in. And there is our head attached to our body. All right, so now we are going to move on to our arms. And to start off with our arms, we're going to be starting with our color B yarn. So whatever you used for the beak or the bill of the platypus, that's what we're going to start off with. So for me, it's going to be this black color. And to start off, I'm going to bring you guys a little bit closer again. And we are going to start off with a chain 5. So make a slip knot, just like that. And we're going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to skip this first chain, and in the second, third, fourth, and fifth chain, we're going to place a single crochet. So you should have 4 single crochets at this point. 2, 3, and 4. Then, similar to how we did the beak, we're going to flip to the other side here, and we're going to place 4 single crochets as well. Just want to make sure I'm going into the correct stitches here, and I am going to work over top of my yarn tail. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There we go. Grab my stitch marker. Just have to cut this guy because it's too long. There we go. So that's round 1 and 2. Similar to the beak, that chain is going to count as a round in this pattern. So now we're going to move on for rounds 3, 4, and 5. So 3 rounds. We're just going to do single crochet 8. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the next 3 rounds. I will complete these rounds off camera and I will meet you back here for the next step. All right, so this is what we're looking like at the end of round 5. And at this point, we are going to change the color of our yarn. So what I'm going to do is take my hook out. I'm just going to undo just the top loop of our last single crochet. So you should still have 2 single crochets, or 2 loops, sorry, from your last single crochet. I'm going to grab my color A yarn, the brown, and I'm going to yarn that over and pull it through to finish off that last single crochet in round 5 and to change my color at the same time. Just going to set this down and I'm going to tie off my tails here. Just a knot. And I'm just going to cut. We're done with the brown yarn, or the black yarn, sorry. And I'm just going to lightly stuff those in there. We're not actually going to be stuffing our arms and legs, so you don't really need super long tails. Now moving on, the next round, round 6, is going to be split into 2. It's going to be split into 6A and 6B. And this is so that we can get a really straight edge for our transition here. So for round 6A, what we're going to do is working into the back loop only of your single crochets from round 5, we're going to place 8 slip stitches. So into the back loop, yarn over, pull through, pull through. You don't need to make them too tight. Into the next one, back loop only. This is just kind of a little trick that I learned, and it does kind of make all the difference in how your final product looks, and I really like it. So, and I don't split them into round 6 and 7 because this slip stitch round doesn't really count height-wise as a single crochet round, and it's really hard to count once you've continued. So if you ever had to like count back your stitches, it's nearly impossible to see this round. So I just count these 2 rounds together as 6A and 6B. So there's my slip stitch round completed. Now for round 6B, again, we're going to be working into the back loop only, but this time we're going to be working 8 single crochets instead of slip stitches. So 8 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And there's round 6 completed. And as you can see, it just creates this really perfect straight line between the hand and the arm that you just can't get if you just crochet directly into it. So that's just kind of a little trick for you. Now moving on for rounds 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, 5 rounds, we're going to do single crochet 8 in our color A yarn. So I'm going to complete these rounds, multiple rounds, off camera, and I will meet you back here at the end of round 11. All right, so there is up to round 11, and that is our last round. So I'm just going to slip stitch. I already took out my stitch marker. I kind of forgot that I was filming for a second. So I just made a slip stitch, and I'm just going to cut 12 to 16 inches. I always, like I said, like to go longer, so, and pull that through. So there's our little hand. Now the only other thing we want to do with this is we want to create the detailing. So I'm going to just cut 12 to 16 inch strand of yarn of the black yarn. And I'm going to put that on my darning needle here. Now all we want to do is create little bumps here in that hand to just make it look more like a paw. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back in through between rounds 5 and 6, and we're going to do it a little bit to the side. It's not going to be centered, and I'm just going to pull that through until I have a bit of a tail on one side. Next, I'm going to wrap this around, and I'm going to go right back into that same hole. And I'm going to just make sure it's good. And all I'm going to do is just pull that. It's going to kind of just bring it in a little bit. Now I'm just going to work my way over to the other side of the hand. And I'm going to do the exact same thing, wrap it around in through the back to the same spot that I'm in. And I'm going to pull that. Next, I'm just going to tie a little knot here to secure that. And then I'm going to just weave this through to the other yarn tail here and tie these together to secure that extra. Go. Then I'm just going to take my needle here, or my hook, and I'm going to pull this through the yarn tails through this, and then I'm just going to trim them because we don't want to stuff our arm. And there is our hand all done. So go back and complete one more of these, and then we will meet back here to sew them on. All right, so I have made both my arms here, and I did the detailing on the paws, or whatever they're called for a platypus. I don't really know, but I'm gonna grab my stuffy here, and I'm just gonna take us out, and we are gonna sew this on. So we are gonna sew these on to rounds 7 through 11. So we sewed on to round 3. So this right here is gonna be round 4. 5, 6, so there's 7. I'm just going to take a marker here. So there's 5, 6, no, sorry, 4, 5, 6. So there's 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it's going to be around here. And basically what we're going to do here is we're going to take our arm, it's going to line up with the top of round 7 there, and we're going to angle it downwards ever so slightly. So it's not going to be straight across. I mean, you could put it straight across. There's really no rules with this, but we want to just angle it a little bit if you want, if you like the look of that. And then I'm just going to pin that there. Once I'm happy with the placement of that, I'm going to just take my darning needle and put my tail on there. Now, I said 7 to 11. 11 is kind of where I have the wrist lined up. So this is round 11 here, and it's lined up there. So, but I'm not going to sew into round 11 because I don't want it to be straight across. I want it to be angled. So I'm going to just start sewing this guy on. Like that. Now, if you want your arms to kind of flop all over the place, then just tie off now and weave in your ends. I personally like to secure my arms down a little bit so that they're not as floppy. So all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to push my needle here down about, I want it to hit around, between these like 3 and 4 stitches or rounds here on the arm. So I'm just going to push it until I think I found a spot that I like that's lined up there. I'm going to pull that through, and then all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to pull this a little bit, lay it down and find where it lines up, insert my needle here, pull that through, and then I'm going to push it right next to where I had it initially, and I'm just going to push that to the back here. And all that's going to do is just going to tack that arm down a little bit. Just like that. So it's still floppy, it's just not as floppy, if that makes sense. So there is one arm attached. I'm going to attach the other arm and I will tie it off to this yarn tail. Just tie a little knot. I will cut my yarn and weave in my ends, and then we will be all done with the arms. So I'm going to sew the other arm on off camera, and I will meet you back here for the next step. Alright, so I have both my arms attached here, and on the back I'm just going to tie this knot together, and then I'm going to weave those tails in. Like so. And there are the arms all done. And next we're going to work on the legs. All right, so moving on, we are going to now start work on our legs. So again, we're going to start off with our color bee yarn. So for me, it's that black. And I'm going to start off with a slip knot, sorry, not a magic ring. Have it there almost to go straight to a magic ring. So once we have our slip knot here, we are going to chain 7. This is going to be very similar to how we did the hand, just going to be a little bit bigger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to skip that first chain there, and into the second chain, we're going to do single crochet for all 6 of the remaining chains. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then again, we're going to flip onto the other side of our chain here, and we're going to work another 6 single crochets for a total of 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm just going to place my stitch marker. So that was round 1 and 2. So now for round 3, we're 3, 4, 5, and 6. So 4 rounds. We're going to do single crochet 12. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for rounds 3, 4, 5, and 6. I will complete these rounds off camera, and then I will meet you back here for round 7. So this is where we're at. Same as the arm, we just have, we're going to do our color change now into the brown. So I just have my last 2 loops from my very last single crochet of round 6 on my hook still. And I'm just going to grab my color A yarn, I'm going to yarn over and pull that through to complete that last single crochet. Just going to set this down and tie a knot here just to secure this. And I'm going to cut the black yarn off because we're all done with it. And now we have our new color attached. Now, same as with the arm, for round 7, it's going to be split into 7A and 7B. And again, we're going to be working into the back loop only. The first round for 7A is going to be 12 slip stitches in the back loop only. There's 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Just like that. And then moving on for round 7B, in the back loop only again, we're going to place our 12 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And that is round 7 all completed. Now moving on for rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, so 5 rounds, we're just going to do single crochet 12 in our color A yarn, the brown. So I'm going to complete these rounds off camera and I'll meet you back here at the end of round 12. All right, so we are all done up to round 12, which is the last round. So I'm just going to take my stitch marker out. I'm going to just slip stitch here and I'm going to cut my yarn. Now again, with the leg, we're not stuffing this. So no need to do that. But we are going to do the same detailing on the foot here. So I'm just going to grab some of that black yarn and my darning needle here. And it's honestly just going to be the exact same. I'm just going to go up to the one side of my foot here and pull that through. And then I'm going to wrap it around like so. Make sure it's where I want it. And then I'll pull to create that little indent. Then I'm just going to move it over to the other side here and repeat that. Just like that, and then I'm just going to place a little knot just to secure that. And then I'm just pushing this over to where we started and tying off that end. Oopsies, I'm all tangled here. It's okay. What's going on here? Go. Tie a knot here. And since this is already still attached, I'm just going to push this through. Just grab my smaller hook and grab this smaller piece here. And then I'm just going to cut this guy. And there is our leg foot completed. Now, again, we're going to need 2 of these, so just go back, remake it for one more time, and then once you have 2, we will meet back here to sew it on. All right, so I've made my 2 legs here, and so I'm just going to grab my body, and we are going to sew these on. Now, we are going to be sewing these on directly to the very bottom of our project. It's going to go on to round 24, which is our final round. And we want to have them pointing ever so slightly outwards. I just think that that looks really cute when they're kind of splayed versus straight on. Actually, they both look good, so whatever you prefer. So I'm just going to roughly place these with some fabric pins. And I'm just going to look at them. Make sure I'm happy with them. And I'm just going to start sewing one of them on. The other one's just going to fall right off. So I'm just going to take it off. Now my thing ended in the center, so all I'm going to do is just bring it back out to the corner here. And I'm going to start sewing this guy on. Alright, and once the base is sewn on, we're going to do the same thing we did with the arms. I'm just going to tack them up a little bit. So I just want it to be tacked a few rounds, about to round 20, so you can count down from the top here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So I guess between 18 and 20 is where I'm going to try and shoot for. Like this. And then again, I'm just going to place that inside here, back in, and I'm going to push that down to the center of the bottom. And that's just going to tack that up for me. Just like that. So I'm going to attach the other leg the exact same way, and then I will meet you back here for the next step. Alright, and so there are our feet attached, and all I'm going to do here is just tie a knot. Oopsies, I'm still attached to my darning needle here. Just tying a knot here. Cut my yarn and weave that in. Now after this, we are almost done. We just have the tail left. It should be really quick, and then you'll have your finished little baby platypus. All right, the very last thing we're going to do is the tail. So I'm going to grab my color A yarn here, my brown. So whatever you used for the body. And we are going to start off with a magic ring. And inside our magic ring, we're going to place 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm just going to place my stitch marker here. Moving on to round 2, we're going to do an increase round. So 2 single crochets in each stitch. 1, 2, and you should have a total of 12 stitches at the end of this round. 3, 4. All right, for round 3, we're going to do single crochet 12. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around. 2, 3, 4. For round 4, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and an increase. And we'll repeat that 6 times. And our stitch count should be 18. Single crochet 1, increase. For round 5, we're going to do single crochet 18. 1 single crochet around. For round 6, we're going to do the combination single crochet 2 and an increase. single crochet 2 and an increase. Again, we're going to repeat this 6 times, and your stitch count should be 24. All right, so that's up to round 6. Now moving on for rounds 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, so 5 rounds total, we're going to do single crochet 24. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for rounds 7 through 11. I will finish these rounds off camera and I'll meet you back here for round 12. All right, so this is up to round 11, and now we're going to move on to round 12, which is going to be the combination single crochet 2 and a decrease stitch. So we're decreasing down now. We're going to repeat this combination 6 times. 1, 2, decrease, and your stitch count should be 18 again. 1, 2, decrease. Moving on for rounds 13 and 14, we're going to do single crochet 18. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the 2 rounds. I will complete these 2 rounds off camera, and then I will meet you back here for round 15. All right, so once we have completed rounds 13 and 14, we are just going to start stuffing. So I'm just going to grab my fiber fill. You really don't need to stuff this really tight. I'm really just lightly stuffing, and I most likely am going to leave about 3 to 4 rounds unstuffed. So we still have 2 more rounds to crochet, so I'm probably only going to stuff up to round 12 to 13 because we want to be able to pinch this together, and we don't want it to be just like way too bulky. So I'm just going to leave it like that for now. I'll finish the last 2 rounds and then I'll decide if I want to add in any more. So moving on for round 15, we're going to do the combination single crochet 1 and a decrease. And again, we're going to repeat this a total of 6 times for a stitch count of 12. Single crochet, decrease. There we go. And then for the very final round, round 16, we're just going to do single crochet 12. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the last 12 stitches here. All right, I'm going to take my stitch marker out. As always, I'm just going to slip stitch into that next stitch. There we go. And I'm just going to cut some yarn for a tail there. So that's kind of what we're looking like. That's where I'm at with the stuffing. I could probably add like a little bit more, but I really don't think I'm going to add too much. I think that that's probably good. And we're not going to close up this hole here. We're going to use that. We're just going to pinch this, and this is what we're going to sew on. So we will grab our body and sew it on. All right, so I have my body here, and I'm just going to flip this guy over. And I have my tail. Now we are going to attach our tail to rounds 17 and 18 of the body. So we have to count down 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So here's 17 and 18 is one below. So we're going to sew on approximately right there. Obviously you want it to be centered in between the head. Now you could have it up, you could have it down. If you just sew on the one round, it should flip back and forth. You can also tack it up like we did with the arms and the legs if you prefer to keep it up. So all I'm going to do here is grab my darning needle. And I'm just going to place that there. Make sure it's centered. And I'm just going to sew that on. And then I'm just going to tie off a knot here. And just push that down. And I'm going to cut that. Now I just left it so that my tail can kind of flop up or down. It doesn't really matter. And I squished all my stuff, so I'm just, so there is our finished platypus. I hope you guys really enjoyed this pattern. Let us know in the comments below if there's anything else you'd love to see. We hope you guys have a lovely day, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye!